Europe and Ukraine are still in a state of shock from yesterday's telephone conversation between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. European leaders expressed their disappointment that their primary ally, the United States, is negotiating with Russia without the involvement of representatives from European Union member states, Britain, and Ukraine. Moreover, on the morning of March 19, the head of the Russian FSB, Alexander Bortnikov, officially stated that Ukraine and Europe, together with Britain, would do everything to disrupt the peace negotiation process. And, as today's events have shown, Alexander Bortnikov was right. So, on March 19, at 3 p.m. Moscow time, the Ukrainian army violated the agreements that were reached during a telephone conversation between the presidents of the United States and Russia. In particular, even though Trump and Putin reached a preliminary agreement to cease mutual attacks by the Ukrainian army and Russian forces on energy infrastructure for 30 days, the head of the Kiev regime, Volodymyr Zelensky, nonetheless, ordered an attack on a Russian oil pipeline in the Kavkazskaya settlement, in the Krasnodar region. It is reported that this oil pipe was attacked by 3 aircraft-type drones. Even though all these drones were shot down by air defense systems, the falling debris damaged one of the oil tanks. As a result, a heavy fire started, which is still ongoing. According to the head of the Russian FSB, this provocation was organized by the Kiev regime on the direct orders of the so-called European leaders, to sabotage the implementation of the agreements that were reached during negotiations between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. At the same time, Alexander Bortnikov noted that such provocations by the Kiev regime and its European masters will continue, in order to undermine any agreements that will be reached between the United States and Russia. By the way, the reaction of Washington and Moscow to this provocation was very harsh. In particular, just a few hours ago, Donald Trump ordered an end to assistance for Europe in combating Russian cyber attacks, disinformation, and sabotage. Donald Trump also banned the U.S. National Security Council from holding regular meetings with European allies on issues of hybrid warfare on the part of Russia. However, the problems for Europe did not end there. As it turned out, the Trump administration has begun to develop a plan to give up command of NATO forces in Europe. According to Washington, this is done to significantly save American taxpayers' money. Nevertheless, European globalists perceived the Trump administration's action as the first step towards weakening and completely destroying NATO. According to them, everything now happening indicates that Donald Trump is serious about withdrawing the United States from NATO. Russian President Vladimir Putin also added oil to the fire. As it turned out, during the conversation with Trump, Putin offered his American counterpart Russian oil and access to the Arctic. It is reported that Trump gladly agreed. Currently, the United States and Russia have begun to develop joint projects in the Arctic, which will significantly strengthen the two countries' economies. Simultaneously with this, Putin ordered the reinforcement of the Russian Northern Fleet in the Barents Sea, to further deter and weaken the North Atlantic Alliance in the Arctic latitudes. In particular, Russia has begun a large-scale modernization of the Northern Fleet's warships, which are known as the Polite Killers. The NATO command is seriously concerned about the increased activity of the Russian fleet in the Barents Sea. As it became known, by the end of this year, the Northern Fleet of Russia will receive a large anti-submarine destroyer Admiral Shabanenko, of Project 1155-1, which is currently undergoing a deep modernization. My friends, in this video, I will explain to you in detail why is Russia returning one of the most powerful destroyers in the world to service. But before answering this question, I want to draw your attention to the fact that yesterday, the destroyer of the Russian Northern Fleet Admiral Ushakov successfully fired at a ship of a conditional enemy in the Barents Sea. The cruise missile P-270 Mosquito successfully hit the target at a distance of 100 kilometers. Supersonic ramjet-powered anti-ship cruise missile Mosquito, or according to NATO classification Sunburn, has been in service since 1984. This missile is capable of hitting surface ships with a displacement of up to 20,000 tons and approaches the target at a height of 7 meters above wavetops, along a serpentine trajectory. All these factors make the interception of this missile almost impossible. However, the firing range of the Mosquito on a low-altitude trajectory doesn't exceed 120 kilometers, which is already too small by modern standards. The heavy nuclear-powered missile cruiser, Admiral Nakhimov, which is also undergoing a deep modernization, is called upon to strengthen the anti-ship capabilities of the Russian Northern Fleet. As a result of this modernization, Admiral Nakhimov will receive launchers capable of launching modern caliber cruise missiles and Onyx anti-ship missiles. The firing range of the Onyx M anti-ship cruise missiles is already 800 kilometers. It is worth noting the fact that among all the polite killers of Russia that are undergoing modernization, it is a large anti-submarine destroyer Admiral Shabanenko, which will be the first to defend the northern borders of the country. At the moment, the Zvezdochka Ship Repair Center is in full swing updating the systems of a large anti-submarine destroyer Admiral Shabanenko. As a result of these updates, Admiral Shabanenko will move to the frigate class and receive the latest weapons. The launchers of such missiles as Mosquito will be replaced by a modern Arun complex with 16 units of Kh-35 missiles. The newest complex for launching modern caliber and Onyx cruise missiles with an ammunition load of 16 units will also be installed. Moreover, Admiral Shabanenko will also be armed with 16 units of the latest Zircon hypersonic missiles. The Zircon hypersonic missile has a range of over 1,000 kilometers, which was confirmed during test launches. Thus, Admiral Shabanenko will be armed with one of the most formidable Russian missiles. Moreover, Admiral Shabanenko will also receive the latest naval version of the Panzer M anti-aircraft system and the modern anti-submarine system Otvet. All these modern weapons will make a large anti-submarine destroyer Admiral Shabanenko more dangerous for the enemy fleet. It is also important to note the fact that after the modernization of the heavy nuclear-powered missile cruiser, Admiral Nakhimov, is completed, the upgrade of the heavy missile cruiser, Pyotr Veliky, will begin, which will also receive Zircon hypersonic missiles. Thus, we see that the Russian command has begun a serious upgrade of the anti-ship component of the Northern Fleet. And this means that Moscow is considering the threat of encroachment on the Russian Arctic by NATO countries quite seriously. Thus, as you can see, Vladimir Putin is effectively leveraging the current geopolitical situation to further weaken the North Atlantic Alliance, which has served as a primary tool for Western globalists for decades. At the moment, NATO is suffering a crushing defeat in Ukraine, and is also being severely restrained in the Arctic latitudes. And this fact has already dealt a crushing blow to the globalists. Donald Trump, like Vladimir Putin, hates globalists with all his heart. Trump sincerely believes that it is the globalists, with their divide and rule motto, who have become the main culprits of all the country's troubles. Against this backdrop, we can be certain that by 2030, Trump and Putin will do everything in their power to ensure that the North Atlantic Alliance suffers critical damage, after which this military bloc will significantly weaken and be unable to recover. Undoubtedly, this will ultimately lead to its complete disintegration by 2040.